Close your eyes for just a second, will you? I want you to picture a cinematic, brilliant 4K heritage scene in your mind. We are talking about the absolute ultimate beginning, or Ein Sof, the infinite light. Just picture complete, silent, infinite abundance. Now imagine a newly created soul facing this absolutely unlimited gift. It's breathtaking, right? But right there, at the exact point of infinite reception, there exists the ultimate inner tension, the heavy, almost crushing reality of receiving without earning. Welcome to our Deep Dive Explainer. Today we are unpacking one of the deepest mysteries of our entire existence, based strictly on the foundational text of Talmud Eser Sefirot. It's a journey, so let's jump right in.
So here is the seemingly impossible paradox we have to wrestle with today. The text explicitly tells us that the entire thought of creation was exclusively to give endless pleasure and delight to the created beings. But, just look around. If the Creator's only desires to give us endless pleasure, why is our physical world filled with such intense struggle, such painful effort and deep suffering? If the goal is a free gift, why not just give it to us? Well, to understand this, we really have to look at the nature of the ultimate free gift itself, and how a receiver inherently reacts to it.
Section 1. The glitch of shame. We're starting at the pshat, the foundational, literal level. We need to understand why unearned pleasure actually creates an inherent glitch, this massive tension inside the one receiving it. Here, we encounter the concept of lechem bazayon, the bread of shame, also known in Aramaic as Nahama de Kisufa. The source explains that anyone who eats what isn't theirs feels shame, busha, when looking at the face of the giver. But listen, I need to explicitly warn you right here. Do not, under any circumstances, imagine this shame as a physical feeling. It's not a red face. It's not a physical distance in space. In the spiritual mechanics we're discussing, this is a deep, structural disparity. It's an unbearable cosmic incompatibility between the giver and the receiver.
Think about how separation works in our physical world for a second. If you want to separate something, say a block of wood, you take an axe and chop it in half, right? You create physical distance and space. But in the spiritual realm, separation happens purely through Shinui Tzurah, disparity of form. Because the Creator is entirely the will to bestow, and the creature is entirely the will to receive, this exact difference in form acts literally like a spiritual axe. It completely separates the creature from the Creator. No physical space required.
Section 2. The cosmic mechanics of restriction.
Okay, so how do we fix this glitch? We have to shift to the sod, the secret level, the cosmic mechanics of restriction. Think of this as the cosmic engineering of the soul. We're going to use some modern technologies to understand exactly how this spiritual data flows. Let's look at Tzimtzum, or restriction. The text tells us that the will to receive, the razon l'kabel, is actually the vessel, the kli, that holds the spiritual light, the or. But because of that burning shame we just talked about, that disparity of form, the ultimate receiver, known as the Malchut of Ein Sof, did something totally radical. It performed a Tzimtzum. It essentially installed a cosmic firewall to restrict its own will to receive. It consciously blocked the unfiltered, infinite data pipeline of light, specifically to start achieving equivalence of form with the Creator.
Let's walk through these steps methodically, because it's absolutely crucial. Step 1. The light completely fills the vessel. Step 2. The vessel feels the intense busha, that structural shame of disparity. Step 3. The vessel pushes back and restricts the light. Step 4. This restriction creates an empty space, a vacuum meant specifically for a future work zone. And I want to pause right here and state clearly for anyone who's studied this before. If you've seen diagrams with specific visual red and white color shifts of the Sefirot at this exact stage of restriction, I need to remind you that this is not explicit in the source text. We are strictly dealing with the mechanics of intention here, not literal colors.
What happens next is just incredible. The vessel installs a Masach, a screen. Think of this as a highly advanced intention shield. When the direct light, the Yashar, tries to enter, the screen rejects it. This intense collision is called the zivug dehaka, the striking union. By rejecting the selfish reception, the screen actually generates a returning light, the Hozer. And here is the profound secret of the whole system. That returning light actually becomes the new, corrected vessel that can safely receive the Creator's abundance without any shame.
Once that screen is active, we see sequential expansions and departures of light. These create distinct nested spiritual structures, or parzufim. You have Galgalta, the crown level, then AB, the wisdom or chakmah level, then Sag, the understanding or binah level. As the light pulses in, that's hitpashtut, expansion, and out, which is histokot, departure, it leaves behind data remnants. These are called reshimot, and they basically act as a source code for the next level down. And again, just to be completely accurate to our text, any extra physical characteristics or visual elements you might associate with these Partsufim are not explicit in the source text. It is purely spiritual data flow.
Section 3. The Earthly Work Zone. So, all of these massive cosmic server mechanics lead us right here, to our reality. This physical world, Olam Hazeh, was created as the ultimate sandbox and operating system for spiritual correction. The text explicitly tells us the entire purpose of this world, of effort and suffering, is to save the souls from the defect of the bread of shame. This means that the yejia, the painful effort, the struggle, and the avoda, the spiritual work we do in this world, function as pressure toward correction. The suffering is absolutely not a punishment. It's the necessary resistance training to build our spiritual intention shield, allowing us to earn our ultimate sakar, our true spiritual reward.
So how do we actively participate in this avodah, this work? It's all about shifting the operating system of the soul. We naturally start in a state called lo lishma, studying, working, and acting for our own personal gain. But the goal is to reach lishma, working purely to bestow contentment to the Creator. On the outside, the action might look exactly the same, but on the inside, the intention has been completely revolutionized. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth do we actually make that change? You don't just wake up one morning and decide to be purely altruistic, right? The source tells us that engaging in the spiritual work draws down an inner light. This light inherently reforms the individual. It slowly, systematically upgrades our raw will to receive into the refined will to bestow. The light itself does the heavy lifting, as long as we put in the effort.
Section 4. The Bestowal Protocol.
This brings us to the ultimate goal of creation, the ultimate state known as Kabbalah al-Manat lahashpia, receiving in order to bestow. Look at this dynamic from two perspectives. For the kids, it's like a video game. The hero is offered absolute free power, but they refuse it until they've earned their intention shield. They then turn that selfish energy into team healing power. For the adults, it's cosmic engineering. The receiver module actively rejects unfiltered input. It installs a bestower protocol, that Masach we talked about, and then perfectly converts incoming abundance into aligned output. It is the exact same process. We are converting the energy of reception into the action of bestowal.
And that brings us to the ultimate resolution of our paradox, Hishtavut Hatzura, equivalence of form. By upgrading our will to receive into a complete will to bestow, we achieve spiritual adhesion, Dvekut, with the Creator. We literally earn the right to receive the infinite light without even an ounce of shame, because our form, our intention, now perfectly matches the Creator's form. We have become givers by the very act of how we receive.
Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter. But hey, before you close this out, I want you to ask yourself this. What in your life right now feels like an overwhelming struggle that might actually be the exact resistance you need to build your own spiritual intention shield? Keep learning, keep transforming, and we'll see you next time.